So, good afternoon and welcome to the final session of the first day of the Med Dialogue organized by the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and ISPI. My name is Alessia Mercangi and I'm Associate Professor at Sapienza University of Rome, Resident Senior Fellow at Atlantic Council of Washington, and Senior Associate Research Fellow at ISPI. It is a pleasure for me to host a parterre of extraordinary guests that will help us to explore a really relevant topic: naval power in the Mediterranean, shaping global influence. I would like to give space to the contribution of our guests, so I will limit myself to a brief introduction and give the floor to our speakers. Maritime affairs are becoming increasingly central to global geopolitical dynamics. In recent years, instability and trade disruption across critical maritime sea lines from the Black Sea to Red Sea have underscored the pivotal role of naval power in safeguarding national security and facing common challenges. The Mediterranean is emerging as a key region where sea power can influence both regional and global security. As volatile increases, states are turning to their maritime forces to protect strategic interests, secure trade routes, and address threats, allowing nations with strong navies to assert greater control and strengthen their global influence. Today, we will discuss the evolution of naval power dynamics across the Mediterranean. How is the geopolitics of the sea reshaping both security trend and naval policies in this area, and possible form of cooperation by regional actors with organizations such as NATO? The aim of this session is to analyze this topic from different perspectives, trying to offer analytical answers and to envisage proactive policies. To do this, I need the help of our panelists. So I would like to give my warmest welcome to Admiral Giuseppe Cavodragone, former Chief of the Italian Defense Staff and designated Chairman of the NATO Military Committee. Thank you for being here. President Stefania Craxi, President of Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee of the Senate of the Italian Republic. Thank you. Dr. Zaid Yedat, Director of Jordan Center for Strategic Studies. Pleasure. And Admiral Yalcin Payal, Chief of Staff of Turkish Naval Forces. Thank you for being here. There will be 2 rounds of questions. So due to time constraint, and I apologize for that, I'm forced to limit our panelists to answer in 5 minutes. So I would like to start with the first round of questions based on naval power in the Mediterranean, the new geopolitics of the sea. I would like to start with Dr. Yedat. Dr. Yedat, from a regional perspective, how is the ongoing crisis in the wider Mediterranean affecting regional power projection, especially in the maritime domain?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. It's a great pleasure and honor being with this very distinguished panel. And I would like to thank ISPI for their invitation. This has been a long day, but wonderful one. As you can all imagine, I'm very well suited to speak about naval power coming from Jordan as being in the middle of the desert. So I will be speaking about naval power. But from geostrategic point of view, I think it does make sense, and Jordan has a lot to offer in that sense. Now, let me start by demystifying the issue of what naval power all about from conceptualization. And the idea is people always tend to think of naval power being naval bases and building, warships. And as power projection, it's only and only for that. Of course, this is not the case, and the experts you can say about that more than can I do, but it's important to start with that. Sea been always, not from the heartland theory, but since power competition started on the geostrategic level as the main source of competitions in order for powers to project its powers and also to reach out to different places and regions for trade, for prosperity, and now, of course, for telecommunications The seafloor is very important, and security issues important into the seafloor. So there's a lot to do from security and economic perspectives and point of views with the sea, maritime, and the naval power. So naval power is much more than ships and projection of power in time of war. And that's why states are pledged by their own logic to build, capitalize, strengthen, and protect their naval power. Now, bringing this to the Mediterranean, and this is my other point of departure in this discussion. The Mediterranean has been and still and will continue to be a major sea area where power internationally, globally, and regionally will be always competing over for many reasons, of course. The most important thing is the location. Connecting Europe, Africa, and Asia all together is the main important thing about the Mediterranean. And despite the fact that it is actually almost less than 1% of water service, 20% of the maritime resources go through the Mediterranean, and more than 60% of the energy to Europe go through the Mediterranean. So this is only just a few ideas, and I think ISPI has a report, big report about that, but that tells you one more time about this Mediterranean issue and how the sea is important. Now, what world we are living in to understand the geostrategic dynamics and the role of naval power in that. There are debates about what kind of world we live in, but mainly there are three ideas. This is the return of great power competitions, where China, the US, and to less extent Russia, are competing to control the world. Or the war actually is more contested. And I think this is more of a European point of view about the way they perceive the world. And the contestation is actually across the divides across values and ideology or world views, how we view the world around us. And of course, there's another idea, which is the fragmentation of the world order, which is led to conclusion about the illusion of the stability in this world. So this world is not stable. Our world is, we're living in an illusion of stability because of international law. But the most recent wars in Ukraine and in the Middle East just highlighted again how much this stability is definitely based on illusion. Now, the global power, in particular Europe, China, and the US, have their interests in the region, Mediterranean, and in particular in the Middle East. And the Middle East is important for the states, not for the NATO only and NATO allied countries and states, but also for containing both Russia and China in the region. And it's very important for China because the Mediterranean is the western endpoint of the Belt and Road. So, and as we know, China's strategy when it comes to naval power is ports. They don't have any access to the Mediterranean, but they either run ports, build ports, or participate in managing and running port, including in Italy, as we all know. And this is very important to know that there is reports saying that every single port China operate anywhere in the world is tomorrow. To be tomorrow means tomorrow, anytime, to be turned into a naval base. So this strategy of ports is also very important. Now, in terms of of course, Russia been trying through the Black Sea all the way, Crimea, and most important recent adventure is Syria and building the new port on Tartus. And that gave Russia a permanent kind of a presence along the Mediterranean. Who are the regional power and what power dynamics shaping the Mediterranean naval power dynamics and projection? Well, there are many, of course. There are more than 20 countries, states surrounding the Mediterranean from the west and east and south. But if I to single out certain important power, I would start with Turkey. I think Turkey is a major Mediterranean power, and what Turkey decides to do on the naval projection and naval dynamics in the region will shape the region's future. Egypt been actually maximizing their investments and diversifying their strategy when it comes to naval bases and naval power. And that actually, in cooperation with different countries, including China, which made Egypt number one optic fiber producers in the world. And it will continue to play a major role in the future dynamics in the region. And from the North Africa, again, I will add Algeria. Algeria has maybe the fourth largest naval power in Africa, and that will enable Algeria to play a major role in the future of the Mediterranean. Now, on the other side of that sea, of course, France is still the biggest naval power, and they enjoy a kind of dominant. Now, their decisions on what to deploy, what to do, and how to invest is important. Italy is important, Spain is important in that sense. But at the very end, when it comes to these European countries, it has to do all with NATO and NATO vision of the southern neighbor and the security stability in the Mediterranean east and south borders are essential and vital to the stability in Europe and into the world. And I'll stop here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your answer. I would like to stress two important concepts: the return of great power competition and fragmentation of global order that are particular focus on this area. So the importance of the location of the Mediterranean. I would like to do my question to President Stefania Craxi. President, regarding this, the importance of the Mediterranean, how is rising instability in the wider Mediterranean affecting Italy's strategic aspiration in the region?
Per rispondere a questa domanda devo fare una piccola
In order to
premessa.
reply to this question, I need to have an introduction. We have lost our leadership in the Mediterranean with Europe because we always considered the Eastern world. We lost it as Italy because with the Mediterranean, we became a land of border in the southern Mediterranean. We lost it again. We dreamed of globalization, and we thought that history was over, that we no longer had peoples, nations, or continents. Actually, we know that the contrary is true. We have peoples, we have nations. We see the people of Israel having the right to live in peace and security, and there is the people of Palestine having the right to have a country. Politics is useful here. And this was a very strong awakening we had. We realized that the Mediterranean is there. And as of today, is an integral part of that global clash that is ongoing. And for Italy, it is a necessary part of its external projection. We are a Mediterranean country. Our external projection is linked to this sea because of our culture, because of its geography, our tradition. We have a positive image in the Mediterranean, which is a beautiful image coming from the First Republic of Italy. And this government was able to relaunch or to revive thanks to our diplomacy. And this was also thanks to the action to protect peace and to establish peace all over the world for Italian people, Italian citizens working to protect us. So our link to the Mediterranean is necessary. I'm talking about the Mediterranean from the Balkans to Africa. All of our interests and stakes, from energy to undersea cables transporting most of our data, are located in the Mediterranean. So the Mediterranean is, of course, our priority. Up until now, we dealt with the Mediterranean rarely with actions that were continuous, but without a continuous strategy. So I do believe that the government was wise in launching the Mattei Plan. This cannot be enough for sure as a plan for our engagement in the Mediterranean, but at least it indicated, it pointed out what is the trend to follow. We stated this also within the European Union and G7. The Italian interests are coming up day by day, and we need a stable Mediterranean to protect the roads of our energy, the exchange of data, the repression of integralism, and the management of by the government of that phenomena, which is migration. We also have a geopolitical feature concerning Libya, where for so long we have contracted only to UN agencies the management of that crisis without coming into play without a coherent national plan. In Maghreb, in Northern Africa, we risk seeing again uprising at the social level in those countries we thought were stable. We are in a very important moment where the instability all over the region is affecting, it is touching its peak, I think, compared to the last previous 30 years. Sub-Saharan Africa, Northern Africa, all the migration flow coming from Sudan and passing through Libya, jihadist organizations. For me, myself, the Balkan region that also has to do with the Mediterranean is a crossroads of culture, but is still an area of full instability, without mentioning also the what happened to our military contingencies in Lebanon. And my thoughts are to the men and women who now are there deployed and risking their lives. I'm sure that this Mediterranean will continue keeping its geopolitical importance for Italy for sure, but I believe in this global clash. And this can be a new frontier. Either we manage the challenges coming from that sea by seizing the wide opportunities we can seize, because the stakes are quite clear. Either we have a peaceful Mediterranean where we have exchanges among cultures or political, economic changes. Either we have a clash in civilizations, in uncontrolled migration, and widespread and uncontrolled instability will be established. This will also put at risk Italy, which, however, has an ambition, which is to be among the main players in this area. So for us to manage a Mediterranean crisis has become a mandatory priority, and we need to reinforce the paradigm of opportunities. We do not want to consider the Mediterranean as a critical point at a hub, a hotspot, but to consider the opportunities that we can seize together with those people. For sure, it won't be easy. It won't be an easy task. We are in the most dangerous period after the Second World War. However, I continue undoubtedly to be hopeful. We need to know that we need to nourish this hope for those people where more than 50% of the population has less than 25 years of age. So, inshallah, let's hope together.
Thank you, because you help us to stress the importance of the Italy in the Mediterranean. So Italy is also at the center of this sea, but also involved in a series of maritime operation, in particular in the Red Sea. So I would like to ask to Admiral Cavodragone, how has the recent Red Sea crisis changed naval power dynamics in the Mediterranean Sea? How are Western countries and international organizations such as NATO reacting to increase the competitivity with international actors such as China and Russia? So the greater competition that was already mentioned before.
Thank you. The timer is intimidating. I'm scared. But thank you for your question, and thank you for having me here. First, I would say that I mean the situation, the crisis, a more complex scenario we should take into account. Of course, we cannot avoid to think that Iran is conducting his personal proxy war for its strategic goals. In fact, Houthis would not be able to perform what they are doing without a strong backup from Tehran. So this is one thing that we need to take into consideration. As for the crisis itself, let me underline a couple of things that I think they are worthy consideration. First of all, at the onset, at the very beginning, the Houthi threat has been faced by different actors in correlation, in a correlated way. At the very beginning, some power like some NATO powers, and Italy was among them. They react with the ship they had there in the area, protecting cargoes and tankers. And right after that, the European Union launched Operation EUNAVFOR Aspides, and that was an easy one. It was a successful, timely, because I mean, again, the nation were giving the ship available to the operation right on, and successful because, except for minor events, I mean, all the ship that were asking support to the operation successfully and safely they transited in and out the Suez Canal and the Red Sea. So we can call it successful. The operation, in fact, has been the very first one after World War II, a real combat Navy operation. And that was, I mean, full of lessons learned, facing new threats like, I mean, missiles, drones, and disinformation sometimes. Third thing that it's worthy to be said is that, I mean, there was another operation in parallel conducted by other nations which decided to strike directly the launching sites in Houthi-controlled Yemen area. That's basically it. As Professor Mercanji rightly told us, I mean, this is just a crisis with a lot of echoes around there, and you just have to take into consideration that it's not just Russia or China, but also Iran and lately North Korea are players in this game. Of course, the Houthi action over there had some impact, some bad impact on the European Union trades. Just to make an example, in September 2024, there was a reduction of the 62% in trade through Suez Canal because companies and shipping companies decided to go through, I mean, the Cape of Goodwill down in South Africa. That was a damage, of course, for European Union economy. This gave advantage to China and Russia. China on trade in the Mediterranean, and Russia in what Russia want to do in the Mediterranean. Just because our ships, I mean, the Western ships are called, let's call them this way, were reoriented on eastern side. They had good playground in just playing in Tartus in Syria, in Tripoli in Libya, and going even further westward to Algeria. So this is something that we have to face, probably with higher presence in the area. That's basically it. For the second part of your question, what is West willing? There are a bunch of things that we can do. Joint forces, for example, just get together, try to get our joint forces able to perform a multi-domain capability, which could be which could have a good deter power for our adversaries. I mean, develop capability and operational best practices, getting something back from the experiences we have in the hybrid environment, like, I mean, cybers, I mean, UAVs, I mean, under unmanned airborne vehicles, USV, unmanned surface vehicles, disinformation, and on and on and on. This is another one. Build more situation awareness with our allies, and not just in over the sea and under the sea, but also on the coastal line, because there's turmoil over there for maritime boundaries, for other regional little struggle that are heating up the environment over there. get more open I mean, increase our strength with our Indo-European allies or partners. I mean, there's Japan, Australia, South Korea, that are willing to cooperate with us. And as a matter of fact, we sent ships over there, and they are doing the same just to demonstrate cooperation that even in the Indo-Pacific Mediterranean matter is an issue for them too. Technological field, I mean, going to keep our technological edge like it is right now, and just investing a lot in defense, in innovation, and on and on and on. I think this could be the action we could take just to, I mean, address the new threats. Time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Admiral. In this great power competition, and I would like to do this question to Admiral Payal. Turkey has a good, important role. So how does Turkey look at the Mediterranean Sea now? And what challenges and opportunities for its naval projection? In Turkish naval strategy, how is the Mediterranean Sea connected to the Black Sea, another priority area, of course, for the country?
Thank you. In the past decade, the security situation in the Middle East has worsened due to turmoil and civil wars triggered by the Arab Spring. And radical groups and terrorism have found broader shelter and operational freedom in the region, making border security a priority. The military operation launched by Israel in October 2023 against the Gaza Strip has significantly heightened regional security concerns, with the potential of involving other regional actors. In addition to existing complex political problems, unresolved disputes regarding the delimitation of maritime zones have caused additional tensions, and discovery of new natural gas reserves has exacerbated the situation, as have unilateral initiatives by certain countries regarding maritime zones, hindering efforts to establish peace. Turkey's consistent and determined policy towards the Eastern Mediterranean has two dimensions: the equitable delimitation of maritime zones with all relative coastal states, and protecting the rights of interests of Turkish Cypriots. Despite the fact that Turkey has the longest coastal line in the Eastern Mediterranean, some states aim to confine her to less maritime zones than she deserves. It should be noted that any attempt to exclude Turkey from delimiting her own legitimate maritime zones in the area, in the region, is unacceptable. Under international law, coastal states must first engage in meaningful negotiations within the framework of general principles of international law. However, the maritime delimitation agreements signed by Greek Cypriots with some countries disregard the legitimate rights of the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus and are invalid and unacceptable from side. As Greek Cypriots, administration cannot represent the entire island or Turkish Cypriots. Therefore, as a response to these unilateral attempts, the outer limits of the maritime zones in the Mediterranean Sea have been declared to the UN through a number of official notifications since 2004. In this context, the Memorandum of Understanding between Turkey and Libya on the delimitation of the maritime jurisdiction area was also signed in 2019 in accordance with international law. We expect from our friends and allies that they evaluate the practices and claims regarding the Aegean and Mediterranean issues in the light of wisdom, science, objective criteria, and also consider Turkey's righteous, lawful, history-based, logical, and contemporary approach. Regarding the Cyprus island, there is peace in the island for the last 50 years, and keeping this safe and secure environment is the first priority of Turkey, and that's the best interest of the people living on both sides of the island. And that's very critical for the stability in the region. A fair and permanent solution is of vital importance in providing an environment where the Turkish Cypriot people feel secure and equally sovereign. Thus, we support a two-state model, two-state solution model based on sovereign equality in resolving the Cyprus issue. We consider that a fair and permanent solution will also contribute to peace and stability in the regional level. It's for sure that an arms race on the island and a potential follow-on armed conflict will certainly damage the security situation on the island and deteriorate the already worsening regional and global security. Therefore, we regard it as a critical issue that our allies and partners will not be a part or side in the initiatives of risking the current peaceful situation in the island. And for Libya, the 2011 Libyan crisis had destructive effects on Mediterranean geopolitics. Following the 2019 Memorandum of Understanding between Turkey and the UN recognized Libyan Government of National Accord, Turkey provided robust defense support to the Government of National Accord, and additionally, a Turkish naval task group had been permanently deployed off the Libyan coast to provide maritime security. It's clear that these efforts by Turkish military existence in Libya have made significant contribution to manage the tension by bringing a balance to the sides in the region. About the Black Sea, for years, Turkey has pursued a consistent and regionally inclusive policy in the Black Sea region, aiming at political, military, economic stability through cooperation and coordinating among littoral states. However, Russia's interventions in Georgia and Ukraine have undermined mutual trust and cooperation, causing tension between NATO and Russia. In this context, Turkey supports the territorial integrity of Ukraine and Georgia and believes that the security and stability in the Black Sea are critically important for the Euro-Atlantic region. Concerning the Black Sea, Turkey has adopted and promoted four main principles: regional ownership, adherence to Montreux Convention, support for regional initiatives, and avoiding military escalation. The Montreux Convention, in that sense, plays a central role in preventing military escalation in the Black Sea. Indeed, by defining Russia's 2022 military operation as war, Turkey prevented the passage of warships from warring parties through the Turkish Straits under the Montreux Convention, thus preventing escalation in the Black Sea. And that's all for the moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Admiral, you helped me to introduce the second round of questions and enhancing maritime security through regional cooperation. So again, this competition in the Mediterranean, the importance of the role of the Eastern Mediterranean that you have stressed with the role played by Turkey. And so I would like to do my question to President Craxi. President Craxi, what strategic action is Italy taking through both diplomacy and defense policies? You have already talked about the Piano Mattei, the relevance, of course, of the Piano Mattei, but to strengthen Mediterranean naval cooperation and ensure its security interest.
Allora, l'Italia deve buona parte della sua
So Italy
della sua sicurezza
has always based its prosperity and safety on the Mediterranean Sea. And we think it is calculated that 85% of international trade happens by sea, and most of it crosses the Mediterranean. And we have to take into consideration the fact that all trades are going towards Eastern countries go through the Mediterranean area. So figures always confirm the importance of the Mediterranean Sea for Italy and not only. So the central role played by the Mediterranean Sea for the global stability. And on the Mediterranean seabed, we have a traffic of 90% of all the worldwide data. But there are also some pipelines that are necessary for energy supply for Italy and other European countries. So it is fundamental to have stability within the Mediterranean Sea just to ensure safety, naval safety, but also telecommunication safety. So this is fundamental in order to let our productive system grow, but also the European one. So as Giuseppe Cavodragone knows, the Italian Navy is fundamental to ensure safety within the Mediterranean Sea, to protect actually all the ships that navigate its waters, but also what happens underneath the sea level. Everything is necessary to increase the importance of Italy as far as the naval strategy is concerned. So the tool that we normally use in order to identify the political approaches is something fundamental also for Italian Navy in order to define its priorities and its strategies. This is also true for the industrial sector. Nowadays, Italian Navy is constantly present to defend the Italian coastline and the Italian waters. It is well prepared to contrast and tackle the first-degree threats in a traditional way, but also an asymmetric one, in order to modulate in a flexible way its responses. And this is another fundamental task in order to better control the territory. It also collects useful pieces of information concerning the naval maritime traffic so that everything is always updated. And from a strategical point of view, we also have to say that Italian Navy, apart from playing a crucial role in defending the national territory, also plays a fundamental role within the European Union and NATO. So it controls the Italian waters, but it also takes place into joint actions such as Aspide that we have already mentioned before. So this underlines the strategic importance of the Mediterranean Sea, but also the Red Sea leading to the Indian Ocean. And the Italian Navy also defends the entire Italian territory, the entire Italian population by controlling the safety of the territory under the umbrella of the UN or EU operations. So all those actions are part of the defense of the Western countries and Italy. So this should be part of the NATO expenses. So those activities are therefore fundamental in order to assure the protection of naval flows, to protect the worldwide trade, to respond and tackle emerging threats. And the collaboration with NATO gives us the possibility to share with allies the highest number of technological information, technological strategies, innovation, good practices, and so on. And this is also necessary to promote the interoperability of Italian strategies and armed forces. Within the EU, Italian Navy plays a crucial role when it comes to the management of humanitarian actions, but also crisis action in order to foster the general defense. We were the very first country to send a hospital ship in order to protect the people living in Gaza Strip. And apart from all those activities, we also have to say that our country has the possibility to get a higher credibility on the international plan. So nowadays, any type of investment in such a delicate sector, such as new technologies, but also defense, gives the possibility to Italy to protect its role of medium naval power as we are.
Very much. Italian diplomacy and defense policies. And what about NATO? So the question for Admiral Capodragone. What the role is NATO playing in the Mediterranean maritime scenario? How can the alliance enhance its coordination with regional powers like Italy and Turkey to ensure a more cohesive maritime security strategy?
When the times turn red, is a tragedy, right?
Yes,
It is.
Okay.
exactly.
Just turn red. Okay, thank you again for the question. Let's say that the Mediterranean has always been a theater for competition, but today is more than ever. We have a lot of challenges, but if there is challenge, we should strive to find an opportunity. So the challenges, the big challenges right now could be summarized in a geopolitical tension among regional powers, heating up over territorial claims, energy exploration, or maritime boundaries, basically. Then there is also another challenge is energy security. Having found some gas reservoir on the east side, just review and redetermine all the equilibriums in the area. The third one, a big one, should the global rivalries. I mean, the Mediterranean is a focus point for big powers like United States, Russia, and China, which are trying to increase their influence in the area and the coast over here. But I was talking to you about also opportunities. Opportunities now can be found in joint naval exercises, anti-piracy activity, and search and rescue operation, just to show how the naval forces can collaborate for the common interest. This is one. The other one could be, I mean, the advance in technology, which will open new horizon in the balance of power in the area in the next future. I'm speaking about, I mean, of course, unmanned vehicle, vessels, I already talk about them, cyber warfare, and also precision ammunition, for example. These are new horizons that can be explored. On the other side, NATO is keeping on maintaining 360 degrees attention on all the area and in the Mediterranean too. Maybe start from there. One thing that we honestly should admit that in these scenarios, I mean, European Union nation should take a little bit more responsibility of their own, they're dealing with the neighborhood, probably. There are good and there are important operations going on in the Mediterranean. Operation Sea Guardian is a surge operation, so a cyclic one, just to guarantee situation awareness, anti-piracy, counter-terrorism, and capacity building, and just keeping our routes free. Another one is a standing force, which means 24/7, always available in the Mediterranean, standing naval forces, just being ready to be redeployed whenever it is necessary. There are also interaction with the Mediterranean dialogue nations, like Jordan, Israel, and Egypt, with whom we are doing exercises. We are exchanging information and do trainings. More than that, we can say that NATO in this area is really being a trigger, a catalyst for the three pillars, the three missions that NATO is supposed to perform. I mean, deterrence and defense, because I mean, we know that from South Russia menace, what Russia threat can come. Crisis management, because we have a force ready to intervene whenever it is necessary and timely, and also capacity building, basically just cooperative security, which is given by our availability to cooperate with our partner in the area. So that's basically it. Something that I would like to mention, referring to the third pillar, to the third mission I just talked about, is the NATO Strategic Direction South Hub. in Naples, which is a pivotal, fundamental element for NATO to try to understand, to study, understand what's going on in South. And when I say South, I mean North Africa, Middle East, Sahel, Sub-Sahara, and all the neighborhood over there, and just try to understand what are the orientation, what is the temperature of that area, just to be ready to provide NATO with any kind of information to the onset of a crisis, just to be ready to intercept it as soon as possible. This means readiness. This means NATO is very, very much involved in South, and we want to keep it that way. Speaking about Turkey and Italy cooperation, I mean, we are two nations that are sharing from the very beginning. I mean, we worries and opportunities together. We have been working side by side long time ago, and we keep on doing that. We do that. We emphasize. We increase the cooperation and the capability in the area, the naval capability in the area. Just doing a joint exercise with other nations together, being able to perform capacity building with nations in the area, and just provide situation awareness, security on the routes, counterterrorism, and also taking care of smuggling and human trafficking. We will keep on doing that. We are also increasing our bilateral cooperation. So no matter what, being the same, attending the same international platform and entities, we are side by side proceeding on that direction, even increasing our cooperation. That's a matter of fact that we are doing, and we have signed that this is going on in the recent years. One thing, I mean, NATO, we're speaking about NATO with the multifacial attitude to the Mediterranean, but besides Mediterranean dialogue nations, besides Hub for the South, besides exercises and operation in the Mediterranean, NATO is also cooperating a lot with the European Union and with the Africa Union. This just to confirm that NATO has a commitment to keep this area safe and secure. Time. Aspides.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So from NATO to Turkey again, Admiral Payal.
Yes.
How is Turkey balancing its national security interest with regional cooperation to ensure stability in contested maritime, such as in the Eastern Mediterranean, for example, that we already said?
Okay.
Please.
In the 21st century, maritime environment is more at risk of terrorism and piracy and smuggling. Targeting and attacking ships and ports by terrorist organizations has increased significantly in the last decade. An increasing concern is that terrorists want to gain control of the maritime transport in order to use them as a delivery system for weapons of mass destruction, and this is valid for the Mediterranean Sea as well. The nature of the maritime threats and how to deal with them is different from that of the Cold War period. Maritime threats in the new age are multidimensional. The nature of the new threats is not state-centered as it was during the Cold War period, and we're not simply confronted with a hostile and rival state, but rather with a variety of actors threatening the security, from states to criminal organizations, military and paramilitary groups at sea. In the new century, states, even the most powerful maritime states, cannot govern the sea solely through national approaches. Therefore, cooperation between states in maritime security is a necessity for success against the threats in the maritime domain. Furthermore, countering these threats by military means alone is not possible. Diplomatic and deterrent measures, formation of international maritime coalitions, scientific cooperation, and even the provision of financial assistance to less developed littoral countries, in addition to policing and even military action, must be considered by states concerned. In order to make contribution to maritime security in the East Mediterranean, Turkey is involved with UN, NATO, and national maritime security operations. For irregular migration, in May 2015, when the flow of irregular migrants reached a critical stage, the Turkish Coast Guard initiated an operation and Turkish Navy fully supported those efforts. These efforts have resulted in a 95% decrease in irregular migration since March 2016. Also, in the NATO efforts against irregular migration at the agency, Turkey is participating in agency activity as a part of standing NATO maritime group. Besides, Turkish Navy assigns 1 frigate and 1 mine hunter to NATO standing maritime task groups. Also contributes in the Operation Sea Guardian, which is a maritime security operation by NATO designed to maintain maritime situational awareness in the Mediterranean, deter and counter terrorist activities, enhance capacity and interoperability among NATO allies and partners. And Turkish Navy contributes in that operation. In the context of implementation of UN resolutions, we also support and participate in UNIFIL naval operation based in Lebanon. Since maritime security requires a comprehensive approach incorporating governmental, non-governmental, military and civilian actors, in 2012, Turkey established a Maritime Security Center of Excellence, which is both a center for academic research as well as a hub for practical training in the field of maritime security. In order to safeguard the maritime areas and contribute to maritime security in the region, Turkey launched a regional maritime initiative. Operation Mediterranean Shield is being conducted in the Mediterranean since 2006 to deter and prevent any possible human, drugs and weapons smuggling, proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, and other illegal activities related to terrorism. Undoubtedly, providing humanitarian assistance in disasters and armed conflicts is another task of naval forces, and the Turkish Navy is on standby ready to provide aid supply and evacuation of non-combatants when needed. Recently, after the devastating flood disaster in September 2023, tons of humanitarian supply has been transferred to Libya, and in October 2024, around 1,000 victims fleeing from Israeli attacks were evacuated from Lebanon by Turkish Navy. Additionally, Turkey supports National Accord government by humanitarian aid, establishing 5 training centers, clearance of improvised explosive devices, and providing military consultancy. Besides, Turkey's standing maritime group delivers sea-based protection with naval assets offshore Libya. It's clear that these efforts have made a significant contribution to capacity building in the region.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Admiral Payal. So from Turkey to Jordan, last but not least, Director Yadat, I would like to ask you, from Jordan perspective, how can Mediterranean countries work together to address emerging threats such as military confrontation, shifting naval power dynamics? So what role can Jordan play in strengthening this collaboration?
Oh, very strong role. I'll tell you how. And I'm gonna ignore timing.
You have
Yes,
5
it's
minutes more.
intimidating, and I'm just gonna look away.
You have 5 minutes more.
Well, first, let me say this. It is for sure the Mediterranean will be the area of international competitions when it comes to naval power. Now, Mediterranean, with the extension of the Red Sea and the Black Sea, and the passages coming from and out and all the way to the Indian Ocean, will be by far the aim of international and regional competitions. And so we expect a resurgence of competitions in this Mediterranean Sea. Last Wednesday, back in Jordan, I have had the pleasure of hosting Josep Borrell, the High Representative EU, in his last visit in his capacity as High Representative to Jordan. I received him in the Center for Strategic Studies. A debate about what we can do to bring peace to the region and to put an end to the crisis. Well, I'm sorry to report to you that it's hard and it's sad that the divide between perceptions and mindsets of the human existence and of our existence in the Mediterranean is so deep. Deep to the extent that, bridging over these sentiments will require a lot of work. We've been talking about naval protecting certain populations and extension of certain power interests and states' interests. Of course, normal. That's the strategic logic of state behavior. But if you're thinking of solving problems, I think we can think of ways of avoiding these competitions over naval projections as part of power building and power projections. But it requires a lot of work. Because I can see, this power competitions is not only competitions between powers, but also competitions between perceptions and perspectives. So take the region, for example, the Middle East in particular. There are at least two competing versions of the future of the region. One that is rests on integration, cooperation, peace building, and prosperity. And I think there was a path for that just before October 7th, especially by bringing, Saudis and Israelis into the game. That was disturbed. And then the other competing version is just to keep the region away from actually integration and peace building and prosperity. But why that is the case? This is the most important questions. Why states come differently to see the future of the region and the same region they all living in? This has to do one more time of how states define their own national interest vis-a-vis the others. So identity and identity politics play major roles. That's why immigration is important. In other times and in different times, maybe migration is not important, it's a blessing, and so on. So again, this what shapes our thinking and our mindset is important. But to bring it to what Jordan can do and what Train can do, each sub-region, any regional system is a subsystem of the international politics. This great power competitions is reflected very clearly in the Mediterranean in all its neighbors. And the Middle East, at least, and North Africa system that we used to know collapsed fully. There is no strategic architecture existing in the region. And that's why it's kind of anarchic system. And the regional power, each and every one in its own, trying to rebuild their position in the emerging system and regional system in the region. Iran is trying to do that. Israel, Turkey, of course, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, at least this middle power. And they're all competing on the same resources and alliance, whether NATO or China or Russia. So they're reaching out and benefiting out and feeding into this great power competitions. This is perpetual cause for crisis and perpetual crisis. There are three issues we have to deal with immediately to deal with the root causes of the problem that we're witnessing now. And I think, the major immediate things is the ceasefire in both Gaza and southern Lebanon. The war in the Middle East has to stop for everyone. And then the Palestinian state has to be recognized, and Israel's security and safety has to be respected and recognized. And then also, who are we going to bring into the table? Who's going to be sitting on the table? What Iran's ambitions into the region and how Iran's can be accommodated and contained. Same for Egypt, same for Saudi Arabia, and so for Turkey. So the other thing is these forgotten frozen conflict. We tend to forget about Libya, Yemen, and Syria. This is Syria's recipe for future conflict and the continuation of the conflict and renewed war. And this is another important thing. And the third, and this is the most important thing, that we have to be hopeful and optimistic that the people, the population of the regions are young with these new technological advancements. If we can invest in the future of these youth, I think we can provide the people a brighter future and a brighter region. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. So we are at the end of this panel. Let me thanks again my extraordinary guest for helping us to better understand this important topic. And of course, you for your participation. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow for the second day of MED. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Grazie.